Are they coming in?
Barry, when you see them pop up, they'll just be an attendee as well.
Okay.
Not a panelist.
Brett James is attending. I see him.
Yeah, he's okay to listen, no problem.
Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to you now that it's after 5 o'clock and we have a quorum.
Okay, hang on just a second. I got to check one thing here. Yeah, Kerry was saying he doesn't need to be on the panel. He's just listening, so that's okay for now, right? Okay, well, welcome everybody. And just to confirm, Ms. Lori, we do have a quorum.
We do.
Okay, before we go anywhere, I want to say welcome back, Bo.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Glad to see you. Glad to hear you're doing well. God gave you a little test there. You passed it with flying colors.
I appreciate it.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, welcome back.
Sir, every day is a good day, as I said earlier. I appreciate everybody that's reached out during this whole process for me. I just had another scan done and that came back clear. So I go back in 3 months and hopefully that'll continue to be clear.
Excellent. Glad to hear all that.
Yes, sir.
All righty. First item is review and approval of minutes. Everyone had those for quite a while now. Any comments or what's the pleasure of the board? Do I hear a motion?
I hear, yeah, I move to approve them. Frank
Second.
Donahue.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We'll have to kind of do this roll call style. Isn't that right, Lori?
Yes, I have that Mr. Donahue made the motion and Shelley seconded. I just
Okay.
needed you to make sure that that they all have voted yes.
Okay. Well, obviously then, Ms. Dickerson, your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Doug Stover
Yes.
and Frank,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So
Thank
that's
you.
by unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
still
Chairman.
didn't get any public comments, right?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. You've got the floor for the next while, Mr. Bo.
Oh, wow. Well, it has been a while since we have met. So again, I appreciate everybody's resilience during COVID-19. We've all had our struggles, more than others, obviously. Again, I want to thank Franklin County IT and Barry for helping us host this first Zoom meeting of the Airport Council. And just bear with me. Obviously, like I said, it's been a while since we met, so I've got a few notes to go over to make sure everybody's aware of things that have been going on at the airport, even in my term of going through treatment. So I've still been working very steadfast in the airport operations.
That's between you. Fucking hungry.
I'm sorry. Everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, the airport continues to monitor, along with our emergency operations center, the impact of COVID on our citizens and potential threats of our aviation community. As you know, we're currently still in 2.5 of the executive order of the governor, and we're still observing at the terminal the wear, wait, and wash protocol that we've heard since March, obviously. We continue to follow the rules of wearing masks while in the terminal and distancing in public spaces. Just so you're aware, our conference room is still closed, and that's due to my conversation with the Franklin County Health Department. Because of spreading out, there's not enough room to do these types of meetings in there. If it's 2 or 3 people, it's not a huge issue. We can wipe down, clean up, that type of thing. But when it gets to be more than 4 or 5 people, they have told us to steer clear of that. Also, our courtesy vehicles are not in operation at this time until things get better with COVID. And unfortunately, due to COVID, our annual event that we had last September, the Airfest, unfortunately, we had to cancel this year. But I'll look as things hopefully get better come 21 to do a spring event, and then we can open up some things and some marketing of the airport. So it's still on my mind. It's still on my mind to do some type of food truck rodeo, those types of things. I've got a little extra money in the budget, so we can try to attract people to the airport and do some different functions, again, when things are a little bit safer. Operation wise, since our last meeting, the fuel price obviously of Jet A and Avgas have gone up and down due to COVID. As you all know, it went way down and now it's on the upswing. Currently we're at $4.25 a gallon for 100 low lead and $3.59 a gallon for Jet A. Due to the turn of the fiscal year, as y'all all know, we send out gate access card renewals for those tenants or those workers that our businesses give permission to have gate access through vehicles on the field. So if any of you are tenants and you haven't done that yet, please let me know and we'll make sure to get that renewed for you. Also, I did want to address a few maintenance items. Obviously, we've been busy with the upkeep of our structures. If you've been out to the airport lately, hopefully you've seen the newly painted fuel farm. So we've got a nice new coat of paint as well as new stickers on it. We have done several projects, one including the roof and window projects on some of our buildings. The large white MX hangar got a roof makeover with new screws to address some leaking issues that we had. We've also installed some new skylights within the MX hangar, and obviously that's going to help with the ambient light for our tenant as well as the staff, as well as to address some leaking issues there. The large skydiving observation window on the second floor also was replaced due to a little bit of leaking. I keep saying that, you know, we've had a lot of rain over the summer. So some of that obviously became known. We had a busted pipe in the skydivers hangar in which we had to replace the first floor of their office facility, in which we did. And we also had a water heater to go out at Plain Design, in which we replaced. As many of you know, with summer storms, we had another lightning strike that struck our gate, unfortunately. It took down our gate access for about 4 or 5 days, but we've got that back operational, and it's now working fine. Our beacon light was out for about a week. The bulb had burned out, so we have already replaced that light, and so the beacon is now currently working again. We also replaced the windsock, so obviously it makes it easier for pilots to see from the ground the brand new windsock that we installed. We do have to do some future repairs on the motor of the beacon. If you've been out there at night, you probably heard some of the gears grinding a little bit, so it's time. I've got a quote for that, and I'll be looking to address that in the very near future. We want to address it before it officially breaks down completely. Also, going back to some of the leaking issues, we've had some other ones that have mentioned some issues with that as well, and we're looking at addressing those in the near future as well. We've also cleaned up around the airport, so if you've been on the taxiway or near the runway, hopefully you'll see some of the trenches. Obviously, we got some of the large trees and shrubs that were starting to grow. Obviously, we need to have them to make sure that's cleared for safety reasons. So they have gone away as of the end of the fiscal year. And then we have entered into a contract to address the spraying of the trees and shrubs across Airport Road. And obviously, that will help with the 1,000-foot clearance that we need for our AWAS, so that they don't put a NOTAM out again like they did 3 or 4 years ago. So that will be addressed in the very near future. As many of you know, we were very lucky to be able to purchase a new Kubota tractor before the fiscal year ended that will help us with the weather elements. Obviously, our staff person that does that can now, it's a little bit more safer in this heat particularly, but also in the rain, he's able to get out and do some cutting that's much needed. With all the rain we've got lately, it's been a challenge keeping up with how much the grass has grown recently. But that tractor obviously is a huge coup for the airport, and we're very appreciative of Franklin County allowing us to purchase that. We've also entered into a new contract with CenturyLink to increase the broadband capacity to 100 megs at the airport, and that will better help staff and tenants that are there that need Wi-Fi. And lastly, we have upgraded our new camera system. The one that we had dated back until the late 90s. And now we've got a brand new system out there that we can help monitor and provide security on the airfield. Switching a little bit to real estate, I'll start with the tie downs. As you all know, we're pretty much close to capacity on tie downs. A few new additions include, since March, obviously, is Stephen Pierce, the Raleigh Flying Club, David Hicks, and Oscar Diaz. And we had 2 returning tenants, which was Mr. Jim Davenport and Mr. Atul Ghul. And so they currently are all on our tie downs, and we've got about 3 maybe that are currently open at this particular point. All our T hangars, storage spaces obviously continue to be at capacity. We have over 72 potential tenants on the waiting list. So that has gone up from 52 when I went out in March to now 72. New T hangar tenants to the airport include Kevin Willis, Randall Sargent, and David Arteta. So I would like to officially welcome all of those, as well as the new tie down tenants to the airport. Our corporate hangar space, as we all know, is at huge capacity in regards to existing tenants with their desire for more space. We continue to track the interest of those, and we continue to look at other ways to be able to address those needs that we'll be doing in the future. Also in the South Hangar area, which is near Dr. Stover's hangar, we're currently in discussions, or I have been with 3 potential tenants that have expressed desire to possibly build 2 60 by 60 hangars. And I've also talked as early as today with a tenant that may be interested in building a 60 by 180 foot hangar in that particular space. Based on our engineers, they tell us that we can fit 3 60 by 60s in that space before the curve of the road happens. So I'll be talking to them and seeing if we can get some more activity in hangar space on the private side of individuals. There's also movement on the northern industrial end with conversations going on with 2 groups, and then I have 1 potentially on the waiting list. We are talking with our engineer records in regards to future access to that particular area. As you know, right now you have to go down the taxiway, and obviously short term that might be what we have to do, but long term obviously we need to work with the state with grants, design bid and construction grants to get the access that will be needed to get those potential clients down there. But those discussions are going well. We will look at the access with using non-primary entitlement funds more than likely. And talking to the Division of Aviation about the process recently. But I'm very optimistic that hopefully in the near future, we can have both of those cleared out, ready to go spaces in our northern end with tenants in the near future.
Good news.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited about that. Does anybody have any questions? I'm about halfway through. All right, I'll keep going. Marketing, obviously, with the flight school and Vance Scramble Community College, you've probably seen emails or posts that have been going out. So we've put in place, along with those 2, a new curriculum focused at the unmanned aviation vehicles, the pilot training course. That's a 2-day course, as well as the FAA Part 10 exam prep. So the drone class has been offered. There's 3 classes that are current now. They're 2 days apiece, and 2 of the 3 are completely full, and full meaning 8 people apiece. And the other one is pretty much full, if not full in the next, by the time it's offered at the end of September. Also, the exam prep course, from what I hear, is showing good results of people wanting to attend that as well. And the idea in working with Total Flight and Vance Scramble is to continue to build out an aviation curriculum using them as our vehicle, maybe eventually using our space or even space over at the Franklin County site to further enhance the curriculum of aviation. So my goal, hopefully in the future, is that we can have a diversity of classes offered that we can really start to address once the people start flying a whole lot more, obviously. the shortage of pilots that I know will come back when everything gets back on track. The Skydiving Center, switching a little bit, continues to perform well despite the pandemic. Once they were allowed back operationally, they continue to bring Skydiver to the airport. They're pretty much full. They have actually opened now where they open on a Wednesday as well as through the weekend if the weather is right and the numbers are there. And so their volume of fuel that they've been purchasing lately has really done well for the airport. Across Airport Road, as you may have heard in some former commissioners meetings through working with the Economic Development Commission, there are two businesses that have gone into the two facilities next door. They are actually hiring now and picking up their employee count, which I'm excited about. They include East Coast Drilling and Blasting, as well as East Coast Gear Supply, which is an automotive parts distributor. No relation, by the way, in terms of the names. They're two different separate companies. There's also movement with two potential projects for building there as well. So we continue to work with the EDC in hopes that we can have some more neighbors in the near future of the park. Obviously, for me, it will enhance the number of people around, so we can enhance in terms of the terminal development whenever that happens in the future, possibly a restaurant, or even having food trucks there more regular for people when they come to fly in. And then lastly, Civil Air Patrol is going to start back operations. They've been closed down since March. They're going to meet again in September with a very small group. And this will be the first meeting, as I mentioned, since the pandemic in March. And it will include a FOD walk, which I requested, and Chris Bailey was very kind to arrange, as well as some meetings that they need to get done for their capacity in terms of naming officers and those types of things. So that's my lengthy report in terms of the operation side for the airport. Does anybody have any questions?
First off, Steve, glad to see you here.
Good to be here.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, you mentioned the Wi-Fi, Bo.
Yes, sir.
As much as the county needs Wi-Fi hotspots around for education, are we offering that up so people can do that there if they need it?
I've got a conversation that it's funny you mentioned it just last week. I was talking to Coy. Anyway, yes, I'm going to have that conversation with Coy to see if we can offer, since our parking lot's pretty big, to see if we can expand our Wi-Fi. Maybe Barry, maybe you can look into that for me to see if we can extend the routers out so people or the public can access that. The other thing I was going to look at and talk to Kim Denton, who's running the broadband campaign for the county, to see, I'm still exploring the options of maybe seeing if that direct wireless access to that company, if we can use our beacon for any way to be able to distribute broadband to the nearby community. And then maybe the airport can then use that as a direct link. And I don't want to say get rid of CenturyLink, but have different options.
Good idea. Hey, and then the sewer project, where does that stand now?
Great. So yes, the sewer phase 1 of the project has been complete. So all the structures outside of from the terminal north, obviously there's no sewer with the T hangars and the private hangars, but from the terminal through all our current structures are now under sewer. Yes, sir. Phase 2. I'm sorry. That's okay. Phase 2. The purchase order has been approved. I'm waiting for the pre-con meeting to start talking about basically filling in what I call the manholes or whatever you want to call it, the old sewer caps and getting them filled in, as well as addressing the drain field out in the grass. So when we're ready to do expansion of apron, it'll be ready to go.
Okay, yeah, that was my primary question about getting that expansion going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, we hope to have that going in the next 1 or 2 weeks in terms of a pre-con, and then hopefully we'll get that taken care of.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, how about the airport grants?
I do.
Oh,
I got
sorry.
2. Sorry, I'm a little slow on the mouse. First, Where are we on looking at self-serve?
So that's currently in the master layout plan. We obviously it depends upon when we move the fuel farm, whenever that time comes about. But in terms of,
I don't think we want to wait that long. I mean, these new self-serve units are basically portable. So why can't we go ahead and move forward now at looking at that? And then whenever we decide to move the fuel farm, we can move it also.
right. Well, I wanted to get the master layout plan done.
Uh-oh.
Hello?
See where the self-serve fuel with our, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you broke up
I
there.
am now, but you were broken up.
Oh, I apologize. So yes, I will work with our engineer of record to see if our current infrastructure will allow that. I'm not sure if it will with its current state right now. Or we would have to go into a new bid contract for fuel service to see if we could have that done through the 3 or 4 major fueling companies around the United States.
You know, a lot of our local competitors have already done this, and I think it is putting us at a competitive disadvantage. You know, and frankly, I've been pushing for this for 10 years.
I understand. Yes, sir.
Secondly, one of the things Steve was working on before his untimely demise was working on getting, I think it was with Wake Electric, at putting in solar panels on top of the hangars. He was talking to people like myself. There was basically, I think, a proposal that if I would be willing to let them put panels in, I would get my electricity for free. And then whatever was left over, the county or the airport would profit from. But I mean, we've got a tremendous space here for renewable energy. And I mean, this would not only, I think, be a potential economic boon to the airport, I think it would say a whole lot about us doing things that are needed for the environment. And you realize aviation is one of the big no-nos as far as the environment right now and global warming. We don't have any good alternatives to jet fuel and aviation fuel. So if we can start doing some offsets by doing things like renewable energy on our fields, I think that would help us a lot, not only with income, but also our public image.
I will look into that with our engineers. I'll check with the Division of Aviation to see if there's any protocol or guidelines around solar farms and airports, and see just to make sure everything is can be done. But yeah, I'll look into that, and we can start the conversation.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
You know, Steve, I had a couple more inquiries about the folks that are mechanics and pilots being able to purchase fuel. And I know we've talked about it, and I told them that I'd revisit the issue. So I guess I lost this.
No, you're there. I didn't hear the whole question.
Okay, basically, over a period of time, I've had people contact me about being able to purchase fuel at the airport and remove it. We talked about it a while back, and we said we'd maybe come up with some kind of a temporary thing. And what I'm thinking is, for a temporary thing, if a person has a credential, a pilot's license, a mechanic's certificate, that we temporarily put something in place to allow those people to purchase fuel. And I'm just offering that up because, like I've said, I've had a couple of inquiries about this.
Are we talking about like in 5-gallon cans?
Well, yeah, we're talking, yeah, some type of a container. You know, obviously approved container. I looked into this a little bit. There's some liability issues, but the liability with a disclaimer rests with the purchase making the fuel, just like it would at a gas station.
I do remember the conversation, and yes, as of right now, we don't allow those to come in outside of the aviation field to fill in a 5-gallon bucket. Doesn't mean we can't revisit that, and I would have to talk to our county attorney regarding the liability portion of it. But if there is a way that we can make it work, I'll definitely look into it.
Well, I appreciate that. That gives me something to carry back to these people. I just told them I would resurface it. And that's for the purpose of this meeting. That's all I'm really doing.
Right. Some of the ones that have been coming in the past, though, they were doing it for their race cars and race bikes, and so it's pretty obvious it was for the wrong reason, especially when there's no tax on it in regards to highway tax.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying people that are credentialed. If the person's a pilot, then they can produce some type of a mechanic certificate or some type of an aviation certificate. I'm thinking that may be an opportunity. Sell a little more fuel and build some more goodwill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. How about the grants?
All right. So as y'all all know, we currently have 2 grants that I'm still implementing as well as monitoring. The first one is the master layout plan. As you all well know, back in March, we had 2 meetings. The first one was the task force with over 25 people that showed up and gave their input and their comments, as well as a public information meeting with over 75 people in attendance. And they provided great comments, and those comments were taken and put into a working paper number 2 report that our consultants have done. As of last week, you should have received that in your email. I asked for comments, if any. The only comment that I have received was from the Skydiving Center in regards to their future location out 20 years. And so if you have any comments that you want to get to me after you look at that report, or if you didn't get it, please let me know, and I'll make sure to get it to the team that's putting together the final edit for
So
that working paper number 2. The next step. Yes, sir.
can't think of his name right now, the owner of the skydiving. You know, I made one of the comments on that, and you know, I think one of the concerns was having their plane having to taxi all the way down, and I made some recommendation about having some sort of shuttle or something. I pretty much got my head handed to myself over this, and what I tried to explain to him is I'm not trying to hurt his business. I'm trying to help him.
Right.
You know, we're trying to balance, and there are obviously forces on this panel that are very, very concerned about the effects that the skydivers are going to have on our future development. That being said, I'm not opposed to them in any way, you know, and I think, I guess I'm just wondering what we can do to try to head, because I think he's, I guess, pretty hot under the collar right now. He's very upset.
Okay. I talked to him last week about this very issue. You know, he's been very, very cool and calm to me, to be honest with you. His main concern was, and what his comment, you know, alluded to is, and I think what his nervousness is, okay, well, you've got us in this hangar over here, you know, kind of removed from where I'm currently existing. If I don't have a space, if you don't have the space there, are you looking at kicking us out? And I said, absolutely not. I said, that's not the intention. The intention of an MLP is to look where hopefully your future location would be, and that would make sense for the airport operation, as well as providing you a hangar, however we get it constructed, whether it's privately funded or county funded or whatever the case may be. I said, but you know, I had to reassure him that obviously we're not looking at pushing him out. by any means. And that's where his nervousness came from in our conversation.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what he got. I got caught in the middle of this, and all I was trying to do was come up with a compromise. And I tried to reassure him that, no, we're not interested. We're trying to balance the needs of a lot of different users of the airport.
Yes, sir.
And frankly, I think there is a bit of a problem where he is situated right now. I certainly have had several conflicts with skydivers on approach. And I think we really do need to look at a way to make sure that his operation can operate fully and do all the things he needs, but without interfering with other operations on the airport. And
Yes, sir.
what I'm getting is, I think maybe as we go along, we may need to have maybe a subgroup of the advisory board or whatever is to maybe look at this particular issue that brings together some of the main parties involved. And I'm not exactly sure who that would be, but I would keep that on the back, in the back of your mind is,
Okay.
that maybe we need to sit down together as a small group and try to work out some of these differences.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would do that.
And everybody involved's got to remember, we got to, like you said, balance, but how the best that the airport can proceed forward and how best the businesses can proceed forward and make that work together. I mean, it's not to say they couldn't, move to the other side or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of options. So no, and rest assured, we're not going to put them out. No, even surreptitiously or any other way. No, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit it, nail on the head. I mean, we're so diverse in terms of the operations we have, from the balloons that come in to the power paragliders to the skydivers to the helicopters to the cap to, I mean, it just goes on and on. So, as we continue to grow, definitely we need to look at the safety aspect of the plan and to see where everything best fits. So a subgroup looking at the MLP, Dr. Stover, once it's complete, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions about the MLP? Just as a reminder, that was a $410,000 grant with a 10% match by the county. All right, the second grant, and I know you've heard me talk about this one for a while as well, but the Airfield Lighting Rehabilitation Grant. Finally, we have received news of its movement. There was a holdup with grant funding from the state, in which with the turn of the new year has been replenished now. The expected start date as of our meeting last week with the contractor is September the 28th. So at the end of the month, the construction contract was awarded to Reifenberg Construction. They're going to plan to start with the runway lights before moving on to the taxiway lights and then the signs. There will be runway closures that are expected to happen at night. We have given them permission to start that process from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. As I mentioned, they plan on starting with the runway first to go ahead and get that done and get out of the way. We'll be working with our tenants and with other transient that we know that are coming in, maybe after hours. If we are able to know ahead of time, maybe we can work with them to ensure that they can obviously land or take off. And I'm saying that in regards to any corporate travel or any other travel that we need to address to not to impede their operations as well. We will definitely be issuing NOTAMs to everybody, as well as broadcasting on our Facebook and our Twitter accounts. Quick ad, please subscribe or follow. We do have a Facebook and Twitter page, so you go out if you're connected with one of those platforms. I tend to post whenever I can on both of those to keep the public alerted, as well as to market the airport and our businesses. Also, I'll be sending out the emails to all our aviation community on any closures or displacements that go along with this particular grant. Completion on this project, per the grant terms, is 180 days. But obviously, per their schedule, I think they're going to plan on getting finished a whole lot sooner, probably about 4 months instead of 6. And as a reminder, on this particular grant, that's a $1.7 million grant with a 10% county match as well. Does anybody have any questions about these two particular grants before I go on?
Sounds good.
They're good. So
So
anyway, yes,
So
sir.
I just want to make a quick comment on
Sure.
what we're working on the master plan now. We're also working on the financial analysis and the getting started on the ALP drawing set, which
All right.
takes those that alternative and gets it into a complete set of drawings.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So since our last meeting, we did, I don't know if you saw my email, but back in April, we did receive a brand new grant for the airport. In April of 2020, the Board of Transportation for the state awarded the airport a $570,000 design and bid grant for a full pavement and apron rehabilitation. That was later approved by the county of a 10% match in May of 2020. As of today, we received the executed grant from the Division of Aviation. The survey and geotechnical work will begin as early as next week on this particular grant. And there will be a couple of night closures for the pavement boring for the geotechnical. And we'll make sure to alert everybody when that is, probably as early as next week in regards to this particular grant. The idea of this grant obviously came about through our composite pavement index that the state does every year. A lot of the sections of our pavement and apron needed to be addressed. They exceed the 20-year mark, in which obviously the airport is now over 25 or so years old. So I'm excited about that because they've assured me if everything goes well with funding, come next fiscal year, we will be receiving a $6 million plus grant to do the construction for the pavement rehab, for the apron and the runway. And of course, that will need to be approved through the county commissioners of a 10% match as well. So all in all, I think that's a wonderful project for further enhancement of our airport in terms of our infrastructure. So we can address the pavement, the aprons, the lights, the signs, all within 3 or 4 years, and then we can put our focus elsewhere to obviously with the hangar situation, and hopefully the STI grant. So my last thing just to mention, everybody knows about the runway extension, the grant that we were awarded per the I guess the analysis to make sure we had enough operations. That came up a little short, obviously, but we're going to continue to look at that over time, over the next, say, 5 to 10 years to see if we can continue to get those numbers up to be able to justify a runway extension of 6,200 feet or 6,500 feet. I have been working all angles since March with Campo and the Division of Aviation, as well as our engineers of record, to try to move a portion of that STI grant forward. Obviously, the justification wasn't awarded, but there's things within that grant that we can focus on. For example, the AWAS relocation, as well as airport roads relocation. So working with them to try to go ahead and get that done sooner than later, because obviously we all know the cost of building a road or rebuilding or constructing a new road will increase year over year. So we'll continue to work those angles, and obviously we know Airport Road is crucial to our development, not only with more T hangars and more larger hangars and addressing the skydivers in the near future, but also, we'll continue to look at the northern end as well. So really trying to really put this package together with all our partners. So that's all I have in terms of my grant update. Jared and Greg are here with Michael Baker Engineering. Do y'all have anything you want to add to my my statements?
Did you want to talk a little bit about the corporate area, Bo?
I addressed that a little bit, but what did you have in mind?
I just, I have the PDF drawing. If you want, I can throw that up.
Sure, that'd be fine. So is this the drawing in regards to access?
Yes.
Okay. So as I mentioned, we're working with 2, potentially 3 people or companies that may be willing to build in our northern end, looking at ways to get them down there. So these are some of the drawings that we've worked with Michael Baker to look at how we can do an inside the fence operation. Obviously, there's a few factors to note. And again, Jared and Greg, why don't you take it and I'll add anything that that I might see that has been missed.
Yeah, so first off, we looked at the, putting in 100 by 120 hangars, seeing as some larger aircraft down in that area. And then also creating a space on the existing ramp where a longer jet could, pull out of the apron and park on the ramp while not blocking the way for the other hangar. So that's why we looked at doing this apron expansion off the front side. That'll give you the proper width so no one's getting blocked in. And then really the primary issue right now is not having access to the site. So that's getting the road down there paved as opposed to the gravel road that's there now. Adding a parking lot, and then the third thing we looked at was getting access for the fuel trucks, keep them off the taxiway and away from airplanes. They're taxiing to the runway. We are looking at adding a section of road that would connect to our access road, and then moving the fence. See, I can zoom in for you guys. Adding a new section of fence that would, enclose most of that area that we would be building and make that airside. So that way the fuel truck would not be leaving airside pavement, and you wouldn't have to worry about any street legal issues with the fuel truck there.
Yeah. And that would be a gate access entryway as well, coming off the existing.
Right. So the
pavement.
access to the corporate area would be in this location.
Mean another lightning rod?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll try to ground this one on both sides. But
Ooh, looks good.
yeah, that's what I've got. I did do, Bo had mentioned trying to keep this road as close to the final grade for new hangars as possible. And in talking with Mr. Farthing, I don't believe that will be possible right now. So this road will be temporary.
Sure.
And when I say temporary, I mean as soon as you extend the apron to the south, you would have to remove sections of the road to do that.
Okay. So anyway, this is one of the areas that we're looking at as we're getting interest at the corporate end, being able to get the corporate clients down there besides going through the taxiway. So we'll be looking at some type of hopeful grant through the state to start to address the design bid as well as hopeful the construction in the near future.
Great. Any questions, anybody? Anything else, Greg or Jared?
Jared, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
That's good.
Yeah, we heard you.
Well, that's my report on the grants, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I know we want to get wrapped up because Barry's got things to do for the commissioners meeting coming up. So just real quick, does anybody have any other business they'd like to bring up tonight? Okay, none heard. I guess we'll be looking to see if we want to Zoom this again on our October 13th meeting, or hopefully maybe things will start opening up again by then, but we'll see. we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. I tell you what, Miss Lori, I'm thinking that's going to be unanimous, so
Yeah.
we'll skip the roll call. Thank you all very, very much for taking your time out this evening to do this. We got some things done. We're all caught up and this is great. And again, Bo, welcome back.
Thank you.
Glad to see you. And thanks to you and all your folks out there at the airport for keeping this thing rolling while you've been taking care of yourself. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate everybody.
Yeah.
Good night, y'all.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Barry.
everyone. Thanks,
You're
Barry.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
See you,
Good night.
Steve.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night.